Professor Lips will make you laugh. He's got some lips. He likes to run with the figure. Welcome back, friends. This is Dylan. And how we do, we're going to take a look at the new Marvel Legends Ronan the Accuser figure. How much of this figure is reused from previous figures? How much are they charging for it? And is it worth your money, dear viewer? Stick around while I run them lips.
You're rushing, honey. You're gonna choke.
Breaking down Big Boy and his accusatory lips. Ronan is a spacefaring religious fanatic who smashes non-believers with a giant hammer. The figure all on its own, I think, looks really solid. There's no mistake in this. As a comic book fan, this is Ronan the Accuser. Classic, say, like Jack Kirby design elements, even. With this awesome sculpted line work all over this newly sculpted torso, where these are dug in, these nice overlay pieces. And, even down to the feet here, which are actually reuse of the Colossus figure from a few years ago. Maybe they could have painted those to bring the whole thing together, but it's not a big deal. Same on the
line.
The bracers here, it's got all of that. And if we look closer, you know what, he's right over here. It is mostly reuse of the Colossus figure. It works really, really well in this case. It's just that they seem to be charging an awful lot of money for just a few new pieces. But the proportions and the size are absolutely spot on. Even with the reuse. That's one of these in my mind where it's got to be fun to be a part of that team, to be looking at ways to kit bash your own line, essentially, and you're like, holy shit, you could make a really convincing Ronan the Accuser out of this Colossus. For articulation, he's got a ball-jointed neck here and a hinge. You're going to have to pop that off to see anything because of the way that this is built. This is a softer plastic, but the way that it's surrounding the whole area there's just not any extra room to move it around. Barely any extra room to get that thing on there. Crazy looking with the shoulder pads first. Those pop right out here. Part of why the chest is newly sculpted. It's got all this cool extra on it, but they put a couple of holes there because they're not going to be any in the shoulders because they are Colossus's shoulders. With a little bit of marbleization there. Check it. We'll keep one pad on to demonstrate the difference here in the articulation. These are ball-jointed shoulders here. They're just pegged right in there with a hinge. They'll come up to a 90, and this pops out pretty easily. Otherwise, it does restrict you. I would suggest you sort of pose this sucker up and then put those back in wherever, because otherwise that'll come up. It'll rotate around with nothing in the way. It's got a nice bicep cut here. Single-jointed elbows, man. Come on. Really, really tight joints on this sucker, and that barely comes to a 90. The wrist on the right hand will hinge in and back a little bit, of course, restricted by that, and it rotates around. Yeah. Now this one over here, though, is hinged up and down. I do like to spotlight that when they think of it. That's ideal as he's a weapon-holding character. He swings this big hammer. To have those options is kicking. Torso has an ab crunch coming forward this far and back this far, and it will rotate all the way around on this waist twist here that is concealed nicely by the belt skirt piece. Thighs that'll come out to the side only to about here, and then back and forward like such. Upper thigh cut that'll rotate all the way around, breaking up those heavily muscled quads. He does have a double jointed knee, nice and stiff, comes up to about there. No boot cut, even though it's a great opportunity for one, but he does have an ankle that will come back this far, forward this far, and rock side to side.
The chief accessory of the Accusers is called the Universal Weapon, in this case taking the form of a giant hammer. Not only can it smash things, it's capable of energy projection, force field creation, and, allowing the wielder to fly, pretty much whatever the story allows. It is an incredibly powerful piece of sort of plot armor, if you will. And this action figure's one and only accessory. One could argue maybe some of this extra plastic is extra. One could also argue that maybe this figure is packaged as a quote-unquote deluxe so that they don't have to include more plastic, like, say, a Build-A-Figure piece or something. I promise I'm not being whiny here. The figure that this is reused from is from a regular Build-A-Figure wave and came with Build-A-Figure parts. So for them to... We'll get to that later. The Marvel Legends Ronan the Accuser figure stands about 7 3/4 of an inch tall. Ronan is a storied character with a rich history in the comics. He dates back to the 60s, an original creation of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Because he's kind of a big deal, we're going to show him off with a few characters here. This is a throwback to his first appearance in an issue of Fantastic Four. Benjamin J. Grimm there on the left, of course, and the Kree hero, Mar-Vell. Here he is next to the Strontian Kalark, the Shi'ar super guardian and one-time regent known as Gladiator. and the cosmic entity that replaced Jean Grey, the engine of rebirth known as Phoenix. Next to the mad titan, Thanos, and the inhuman king known as Black Bolt. For some Guardians of the Galaxy love, we'll throw in a couple of movie versions, Drax and Mantis. Review up on the channel now. Here's a couple of figures in a slightly larger scale. The Super 7 Ultimates Leonardo, and the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. Another galaxy, another time. It is the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Imperial Stormtrooper, and the NECA Ninja Turtles cartoon foot soldier. Finally, bringing it back around, here he is next to his butt double Colossus, and the Marvel Legends Morning Coffee Mostly Bucky Cap Deadpool. Okay, check this out. I can't in good conscience gloss over the thing. So here at the end, we're going to put a finer point on the thing. We have got our Ronan the Accuser figure. A fine figure he is. All on his own. Even the reuse abound here. It's one of those where you're putting it together and it's clever. It's creative. You're like, hey man, these were Colossus's boots. Even the little sculpted effect, it fits right in with the aesthetic of this character. But it is 90% reuse of this Colossus figure from a few years ago. Okay, fine. He's got the same arms there. His hands, the hands are new, and the head is new, and the torso is new. The torso is new. I was like, cool. Look, some unique sculpting, but it's, because they had to put peg holes in here for the shoulder pads. And this is a little extra plastic. We'll call these pieces a little extra plastic. That's cool, because otherwise the only accessory he comes with is, of course, the hammer, and it's completely hollow. I mean, it's just the gray plastic it's cast in, little stripes of blue there, almost nothing. But Colossus came with an extra head for himself, plus he was part of a regular Build-A-Figure wave, so he came with the head for Self-Friend Warlock, and an optional hand accessory for him, a Build-A-Figure with extra hands. This figure didn't even get extra hands on his own. It's whatever. He's got one fist, one grasping hand. It's fine. This is a decent Colossus. This head sits a little high because they made it for the beard or something stupid. People don't adjust the heights of their heads or the lengths of their necks because they choose to have or not have a beard. Anyway, look, this was released several years ago. So, inflation, their version of it, figures... Ronan the Accuser ought to be $24.99 right now, right? That's sort of the precedent they've set. What I'm getting at here is these are the extras each of them come with. These are the extras each of them come with. We'll try to be fair. Even though these are weighty, solid pieces of plastic, and this is just hollow, let's call them comparable. Again, they've upped the price off of the base figures here. If he were released today, he'd be $25. So why the
Unicorn.
Is this $38? Why is it almost twice the price? This was $20 a few years ago. And today, the same thing is $38. I know, we're mad about the $25 increase, but while you're busy pissing and moaning about that, they're over here charging $38. They've taken a figure every bit as equal, less so. They call it a deluxe or something. Put it in a different box and put it over here for $38. The Blob is $56 now. There were not price points like this, man. They're just pulling this stuff out of their...
Doubloons!
Most egregious of all, though, the Across the Spider-Verse tie-in figures feature some kind of robot abortion Spider-Woman that's $60. Why is it $60? There's no Marvel Legend that is $60. It's a little bigger. You want to charge $38? We'd still be mad about that, but they just decided it'll be $60 for a completely new, unknown, unproven character. I'll tell you, I'm a Jessica Drew fan. She better be the coolest goddamn character in that movie for $60. You are high on glue if you think people are paying $60 for that, man. This is usually where I talk about the thing, but you saw it in the review, right? Let me just say here at the end, do not buy this for $38. Holy crap. Let it go on clearance because it will. It'll be like $8 and Hasbro can suck it. Anyway, I'm sorry for yelling. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. We should do this again sometime.